Okay, good day. Thank you for joining. So today we are looking at inelasticity and elasticity. Let's start with what is elasticity? When we're looking at elasticity, we're looking at the responsiveness of the price in comparison to the quantity. So we're looking at if we have a small or huge change on the price, what will happen to the quantity? If there is a price change, what happens to the quantity that is demanded by people? Let me just make it as general as possible. If you increase the price of your product and you are a reseller, do you see a significant change in the amount of people that usually buy your product? Do they go to an alternative? Do they actually substitute your product with something else? So that is what we're looking at when we're looking at elasticity. How much does the quantity of the product that is being demanded change if the price increases or decreases? Let me make an example. You get to a shop. You can either buy Kellogg's cornflakes or you can buy oat. If you get to the shop and you realize that actually I like Kellogg's, so I usually will buy this with milk. But when I get to that particular shop, I find out that this price of this particular good has increased. I am much more likely to go for an alternative as long as I believe that those two goods are substitutes to one another. So that is basically what elasticity has to do with. If you look at elasticity, we're looking at there are two types. Either it's elastic or inelastic. What does this mean? If we say something is elastic and the other one is inelastic, what do we actually mean? Elasticity, if a good is showing elasticity in terms of how it generates revenue for that particular business, it means that a small change in the price will much more likely have a significant change in the quantity. So even if you increase the price just a little bit, you will see that people are much more likely going to go for an alternative. But if you look at inelastic, you see that even if the price changes as significant as possible, usually the change would be not that much. I hope you understand. Let me go through it again. What is price elasticity? When we're looking at price elasticity, we are looking at the fact that how responsive is the quantity when it comes to the change in the price itself. We're looking at if you change the price of a particular good, how responsive will that be? Or what is the change? How much would it change the quantity of the product that is being demanded? Let's go straight into it. These are some of the examples of elastic and inelastic goods, but let's just differentiate them. You would be asked in economics or in managerial accounting to say, calculate the price elasticity of demand. What does that mean? We're looking here at if the price changes, how much will that impact the quantity? So what is the formula that you use? It's the percentage change in quantity divided by the percentage change in the price. Please note, it's a percentage change. It's not just a change in Q and a change in P. It has to do with the percentage change. So N is the price elasticity. Percentage, this is change, meaning that there is 1 and then there is 2. You will see when we're doing our calculations. Then Q here is the quantity, then the P is the price. Okay, let's get to the first type. We have what we call is perfect inelasticity. What does that mean? It means that if price changes, it has little or no effect on the quantity. What does that mean? Let me make use of an example. Perfectly inelastic. If you change the price of this particular product, people will still have to demand that particular good. Example, life-saving medication. If people need that particular medication to survive, just because the price is now doubled or tripled, it would not mean that people will stop buying that medication, because at the end of the day, they will need it to survive. So these are the goods that do not have close substitute. You just need that particular good for you to survive. That is perfectly inelastic. So even if the price changes, it does not have an impact on the quantity, the number of goods that these particular individuals will be demanding. Let me wrap it up. Perfectly inelastic. Perfectly inelastic, it means that if the price changes, it will have no effect on the quantity. These are specifically for goods that you need to survive. So much that even if they charge us 10 times the amount, they are the only ones that are producing that particular product. Like usually they're the monopolies. So you need that particular good for you to survive. So the price has no impact on the quantity. Then we have relative inelastic. Relative inelastic, you will see that when we're doing our price elasticity, of which here I've denoted by N, the answer will be between a -1 and a 0. So what does this mean? It means that a percentage change in the price causes a smaller percentage change in the quantity demanded. So if you change the price, the quantity might change, but only in small quantities. It would not be as great as other ones. You see, if you were to draw a line here and then draw a line going down and then another one, you will see that the difference in the quantity, which is always on our x-axis, will not be as great as the change in the price on the y-axis. So you see here, if the price will increase by 20%, the quantity might fall or increase by 5%. So the change in price will be greater than the change in the quantity, which is on our x-axis. So that one is relatively inelastic. The first one was perfectly inelastic. It means even if you change the price, there is no change in the quantity. But relatively inelastic, it means if you change the price, there's just a small change when it comes to that particular good. An example probably that we can make use of is petrol. If they say that they are changing the price of petrol from 26 Rand to 28 Rand, we will still need petrol. Yes, there are a few people that will go for alternatives, but it's only a small percentage when it comes to the South African industry. Then you go to unit elasticity. Unit elasticity, when you do your price elasticity, you'll see the answer will be always equals to a -1. What does that tell you? It means that a percentage change causes an equal percentage change in the quantity. So if you increase your price, it will have the same impact on the quantity. Let's just make an example. If you own a clothing brand and you decide that, you know what, I see now we are approaching winter, maybe you're selling scarves. So what do? You say, I'm going to increase the price with a 10%. You might realize at the end of that particular month, after you've implemented the 10% increase, that the revenue will also decrease with 10%. So you increase your price with 10%, but eventually your revenue decreases also by 10% because people have gone to buy from your neighbor or your competitor. So what does that mean then? It means that there is really no relative change because the increase that you have made, it has caused an equal amount of a decrease. So an increase in price is exactly the same as the decrease in the quantity. So, like I said, a clothing retailer might end up increasing the price by 10%, but they will realize that their revenue also has decreased with a 10%. Then we have a relative elasticity. where you will see that the n is between a negative infinity and negative 1. What does that mean? It means that a percentage change in price causes a larger percentage when it comes to your quantity, which is your x-axis. Luxury goods like designer handbags or high-end electronics. When you get to the shop, most people, ceteris paribus, holding everything constant, most people, when they go to a shop and they realize that the goods that they like, that I say electronics, it's much more expensive than they are used to paying, they are much more likely to go for an alternative. So if these luxury goods, these electronics, these high-end handbags, they increase or stores increase their prices, they will see a decline, a significant decline in their demand. So if you increase your price by 10%, you will have a demand that decreases by 30%. So this one is relatively elastic. If you draw a line here, you will see that if you draw your line on the y-axis and then you draw another one under that, then you will see the change in the quantity. It will be significantly more than the change that you have made on your y-axis. Perfectly elasticity, you will see it will be n equals to negative infinity. Any increase in the price causes the demand to fall to a zero, complete zero. An example here is if the consumers have perfect knowledge, each and every consumer knows exactly what they are paying for. They know that there is no difference in the goods that are being sold in different stores. They are much more likely to go for alternatives. Let us make an example, agricultural products. If I put a banana here and I say there's banana A, banana B, banana C, and there are no brand names that are associated with these particular products, you are much more likely to go for the banana that is the cheapest. If all of them, they look the same and you know that there is no difference between all these bananas, you are much more likely to choose the one that probably is the cheapest. Another example, you have street vendors. Street vendor A, B, C. They are all selling bananas. You get to this one, the banana is 1 rand. You get to this one, it's 150, and then you get to this one, it's 2 rand. Which one are you going to choose when you can clearly see that all these bananas are the same, they have the same value? You are going to choose the one that is the cheapest, meaning that seller C will much more likely not get any customers because people would go to seller A given the fact that they see that there is no difference between the bananas that are being sold. So that one is perfectly elastic. So let us just give a summary. You have a perfectly inelastic. The change in the change in P has no effect on Q. You have relative inelastic where the change in P is higher than the change in Q. Unit, they are exactly the same, so they cancel one another. Then relative elastic, the change in Q is slightly higher than the change in the price. And then the perfectly elastic, a slight change in P will cause an infinite change in the quantity. Okay, now that we've gone through the theory, let's go straight to the calculations. This one is based in hospitality. Let's look into this. You're given that January, you had occupancy of 120 rooms. February, you had occupancy of 130 rooms. January, the room rate, how much we were charging was 1.5. In February, the price decreased to a 1.3. Calculate the price elasticity of demand. How do you go about that? Already you know that the formula for price elasticity of demand, of which is PED, is the change in quantity divided by the change in price. I like to simplify it and say it's a no. What does no mean? It means the new minus the old divided by the old. Let me repeat, no What does no mean? Remember, we have a percentage change in quantity and then the percentage change in price. The first part, percentage change in quantity, you say no. Also, the percentage change in the price is also a no. What does that mean? You will have new minus old divided by old. Let's get to the calculation. How do we find the percentage change in quantity? You say new, remember the no, new. What is new here? Here is our quantity. The new quantity is 130 minus the old quantity, 120, divided by the old quantity, which is our no, times 100 to get the percentage change for the quantity. Remember, that's the numerator. Then we go now to the denominator. The denominator is the change in the price. How do you go about that? Same thing, you say no. You say new price 1.3 minus the 1.5 divided by the 1.5 multiplied by 100 for you to get the percentage. Let's go through this again. We are given that January the occupancy was 120 rooms, February they were 130, January the room rate was 1.5, and then it decreased eventually to 1.3. Calculate the PED, which is the price elasticity of demand. You know the formula is the percentage change in quantity divided by the percentage change in price. The simplest way to cram it or to remember it is you say no. So N is for new, O is for old. So you will have the change in quantity, which is the numerator that we're trying to find first. How do you go about finding the numerator? You say no, of which is the new price minus the old price divided by the old price, and then you multiply that by 100. Then you get your answer. Now we deal with the denominator. The denominator, you say 1.3 minus 1.5 divided by 1.5 times 100, then you get a negative 13.33. Why are we getting a negative? It's because you see that the price has decreased. It used to be 1.5 and now it's 1.3. So do not worry about the sign. For now, make sure that your calculations are correct. Then you go for your formula, which says the percentage change in quantity divided by the percentage change in the price. So you will have your 8.33 divided by negative 13.33. You're more than welcome to put it in a percentage form, and then you will get that this is a 6.2, a 62% if you multiply it, but it's a negative 0.62. How do we know then whether this is elastic, inelastic, or which one is it? We go back to our table. The answer we got is a negative 0.62. Negative 0.62. Is it this one? No, we didn't get a 0. Does it fall onto this? If you have your number line, yes, this is the right one. Because remember, if you have your number line, you have a 0 and then a negative 1, a negative 0. Between negative 1 and a 0, that is where a negative 0.62 would be. So this particular good is relatively inelastic. I hope this helps. Let's see if we can have another example. Another example, it says, a coffee shop increased the price of a cappuccino from 25 Rand to 30 Rand. As a result, the number of cappuccinos sold per week dropped from 200 to 160. You have the price, it was from 25. So that's the first price, which is the old price. Then it moved to 30 Rand, which is the new price. Then they drop from 200 to 160. Then calculate the price elasticity of demand. Do this activity and let me know what are the answers below. Then this is also another one. Suppose the price of a certain life-saving drug increases. The initial price is 500 and then the other price is 700. The initial quantity is 100 and the new quantity demanded is 100. Calculate PED. Out of all these, I want you to tell me Are these elastic? Are they inelastic? If you're saying they are elastic, is it perfect? Is it relative? You need to let me know of that. I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed it. Thank you.